This is Jerry Holcomb with Premier Lending. I am your mortgage power play expert here in Dallas, Texas. I'm here to help you learn tips, tricks about how to buy a home, all the businesses around that. So today I brought Gracyn Smith with me with Goosehead Insurance to talk about the insurance part of this. So Gracyn, welcome. I appreciate you being here on the show today with me. What we'd like to talk about first is tell me a little bit about you and what got you into the insurance business.
Yeah, so thank you for having me, Mr. Jerry. It's a pleasure. I would not say it's every little girl's dream to grow up and be Jake from State Farm, but here we are. Saying that, I don't think I'd want to do anything else. So I went to school for sales, and I knew I wanted to do some sort of sales. However, I knew that I wanted to do meaningful sales. I didn't want to be like your scammy car salesman or anything like that. So I kind of narrowed it down and realized that insurance, unfortunately, is a necessary evil, and I love helping the everyday person at the end of the day. So getting into it, I moved here from Florida. I've seen a lot of natural disasters and things like that come through my town. I've watched how insurance has played a key role in that. And I've ultimately seen what insurance is intended for. So if I can provide that service and help others in that same way, I'm going to do it. And I find a lot of joy in helping others.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing from you is you got into this business because you want to help people protect themselves, to protect their financial assets in their home and their family. And that's an awesome thing. Now you moved from Florida here to do this. Now tell me a little bit more about the insurance things. Now I know right now homeowners need to have insurance, renters need to have insurance. You need to have insurance on other things. Tell me a little bit about whenever somebody's looking for a home, the things that you would talk to them about so that they know what they're planning and what they're getting into when they're looking at that next home.
Yeah, so something that I think often goes unnoticed is just how much insurance really does play a role in the home buying process. So the way insurance works is that it ultimately is deciding that price on multiple factors, but really you can think about it in two big scales. The client themselves, they have their past insurance history. The home that they're purchasing, it has an insurance history. So they actually combine those together to find how much this is actually going to cost. What's really the amount of risk here? Is it the client or is it the home? So as you know, these clients are going and they're trying to find a home, you might inherit a home that has a really ugly insurance history and you might not even know it. You might fall in love with it and then find that out on the back end. So ultimately, coming to me first kind of helps prep them out, seeing what truly they're buying at the end of the day, and if it's worth it, if they can afford it, because hey, that insurance might jack up the price at the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know in my career I've always had to look at a guesstimation of insurance when I'm qualifying somebody up front. But the thing comes into is things that I don't know. Have there been claims on the house recently? A roof claim, a fire claim, a flood, any of that kind of stuff. Plus, the person that's buying the home, have they had auto accidents or other things that have caused claims for them? All of those things combined can come up and make that price go way up and throw them out of the ballpark. So it's good to have not a call center Jake from State Farm guy. You want a Gracyn from Goosehead that you can call and ask questions. Because tell me, if someone's looking for a home, what can you do for them before they actually go write a contract?
Yeah, so we can technically look at what the insurance history is on that said property. Let's say that they're going to look at 3 houses today because they're considering all 3. Well, we can tell you if one has an ugly track record or if it's, hey, yeah, this is a great candidate and you guys have a great insurance history. This home has a great insurance history. You should be just fine. But I did want to also mention that one thing that I've run across quite a bit is, we love our Zillows, we love our realtor.com, but let's be honest, it's someone out in California making those numbers on that website, and they truly don't know one bit about what the insurance is actually going to look like. All of these estimations, they're just estimations. So truthfully, Texas is a really heavy spot when it comes to insurance. It's expensive compared to many other states. And if they're local to DFW, we have a lot of risk factors here, such as hail. So I just have often seen that those prices online do not reflect what a premium is going to look like in the end.
It's so funny you mentioned that. I always use the term A in Zillow stands for accurate. Okay, so, but you're right, the claims made make a big difference. And then also the overall event geography can make a difference in your insurance. If there's been a lot of hailstorms or fires or anything, insurers don't want to insure in those areas for a while. They're waiting for the risks to come down. So you may have to shop around a little bit, or you may want to look at some place that's got a little bit better insurance, if that's what would add for a price, but you want to know all this stuff up front instead of after you've signed the contract. So that's why I wanted to get you to know somebody that knows this and understands it. So, here you are, we're looking at buying a home part, but there's also a thing about the people that actually have a house now. They have a renewal every year on their insurance. Now, I've been living in a home for a long time, and I shop my insurance every year. So the reason I do that, I would like her to explain what they're looking for whenever they look at that. So tell me a little bit more about when you got somebody that's already in a home, or if I'm refinancing you, rates are coming down, what you would do for them to look at their next policy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I love this topic because one of the big reasons I went to work for my company specifically is because it actually has the client in mind at the end of the day. Not just the one time first home client, but the client year after year after year. That's kind of our business model. That's how we're built. The reason why it's beneficial to shop year after year is that typically your insurance carriers will, let's say, have your first year home, first year customer discount. They're giving you the best price. It's year one. You're there. They lock you in. If you stay at that company year after year after year, well, they're locked in. You're locked in with them. They don't think you're leaving. They're raising the prices. On average, we see anywhere from a 25 to 50% increase in price after year one with any one carrier. We work with over 70. And so that's kind of the foundation of why we have our business the way it is. Essentially, what that means is when you come to me after you've been my client for a year, hey, Gracyn, I want you to just take a look. It costs nothing for me to look and see. It costs nothing, to look at the beginning, but let's take a look, see what we can find. It might be that it's better to shop you around, put you in a new place year two.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of call it like Vegas odds. You keep flipping the dice, flipping the dice, flipping the coin. It's going to land. It's going to land. The insurance company's doing that too. Oh, we didn't have a claim this last year. Maybe next year is the bad year. Maybe 2-3 years down the road. It's not if, it's when. And in Dallas, I live in Carrollton. I've had 5 roofs put on my house in the time that I've had it. So it's not if, it's when you have a hailstorm. And if it's been 5 or 6 years, you're likely to get it. So they're going to raise those up. Mm-hmm. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I tell all my people when they're looking at homes. Any house that's over that the insurance has not had a new roof in 8 years, that roof is going to cost a lot of insurance. It probably has hail damage, and you should check that out. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And we see that quite a bit, especially with buyers these days. It's pretty common that you get the roof replaced before either the seller will replace it, or the seller directly will replace it, or they will, insurance will come in and replace the roof if there is damage. But yes, the roofs, especially again, local to DFW, that is probably one of the bigger factors. I've seen it increase, or I've seen it influence price up to like $2,000 difference per year for insurance. That actually recently happened to me with a couple in Frisco. They had a new home they were purchasing. Nobody knew how old the roof was, and the difference in premium with the old roof versus the new roof. And this is like a first time buyer entry home. It was going to be $1,500, or roughly $1,500 cheaper per year for like a $3,000 policy total or something like that. So it really, really does impact the premium.
Absolutely. So if you're out, the big thing is when you're out looking at homes, you want to make sure that the roof is good, the plumbing's good, the foundation, all that stuff's good. But on the roof, if they've had damage to the roof, they have insurance on that house. their deductible will pay for most all of their roof to be replaced. And now you have a new roof on it because it happened when they own the home. So I always highly encourage that you make sure you check these things out and get somebody to look. Now, what is it that you can do? And I think it's called Clues Report, right?
Yeah.
So tell everybody, what does a Clues Report give you as an insurance person to help the buyers out there?
Yeah, so for a Clue Report, that's what I mentioned earlier. Essentially, we can think of like the track record on the home or the history of the home. We're seeing when, if any claims were filed, if insurance paid out to fix said claim, whatever the case might be, we can see what the history is on that home when it comes to insurance purposes. Now, if they have, this is another thing, typically we see two types of claims for the most part. Yeah, there's odd ones out, but you're going to see obviously wind and hail claims due to, where we live at. But our second one is actually going to be water related claims.
Yes.
This is something that I think is one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to home insurance, is that water damage isn't inherently covered on your homeowner's insurance. I've talked to a client this week that had a major water damage situation. They didn't know they weren't covered for it. Insurance didn't pay a dime for it. This is prior to coming to me.
So was this a hot water heater, or what caused the leak?
I can't remember where it started, but I want to say it was a leak in their drywall. Something along those lines. A pipe of some sort. However, it wasn't caught. That's another thing. They really differentiate between what the cause of damage is and how long it's been sitting. We have coverages that only cover up to a 14-day period. If it's past 14 days, you're done. You're not getting covered. So really, educating the client on that and being an educated client on that is super important, because a lot of the times when I get people coming to me, they're not covered for any water related damages. And it can be extremely pricey, especially if that leaks in like the foundation of your house. What are you going to do? Sometimes insurance might fix the pipe in the ground. They might not fix your living room floor to get to it. So it's things like that we like to look at.
Yeah, it's good to look over with a professional on all the different things in the policy to make sure what you're covered for and what you're not covered for and what you're willing to not be covered for. I was driving here today to have this meeting, and we were talking with one of my agent's assistants, and we were talking about jewelry coverage. And I'm like, well, jewelry coverage is something that's separate on top of the house part. You can add it in, but you want to make sure that the cost that you're paying for that is going to cover the jewelry. Because if it's not, then you make a claim on it and you're not getting enough money back because you underinsured. That happens quite a bit, is underinsurance. So you want to make sure that you know what you have and that you got the right coverages for the things that you do. Now, that's a really kind of unique piece there. Now, here's something that I've seen too. You guys remember back in the Snowmageddon when all the power went out and then we had no power and the refrigerators went bad and all the food went bad and spoiled. Well, there were a lot of people I know that filed for spoilage for the meats and stuff that was in the refrigerator. It may have been $300 or $400 worth of stuff. What would happen in a situation like that 99% of the time?
Well, it really boils down to, are you covered for it or not? Typically, that is a additional option. It's a check mark. It is something that, might, not be brought up in a call. You might not think, hey, what happens if all the food in my fridge spoil? But typically, that is going to be like an additional check mark at the bottom of a policy. And if it's not checked, it's not checked. You're not getting covered for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's a big part that I've seen. It may be $300 or $400, but if you're at 1% or 2% deductible on a $400,000 house, you didn't lose that much. You're going to pay your part of it before they even touch it. But you made a claim, and now you got a claim mark against you that's going to make your insurance go up. So if you call in with a call center, Jake Farms, Jake at State Farm, Jake Farms, that'd be even better. I like that one. But if you call him and a call center company, they're going to have to write that down. Sometimes you can call your local agent that you know and like and trust, and ask them questions first, and they'll tell you what to do or not do before it actually has to become a claim. So you want to make sure you got the right people on your team, because for $300-400 to have your insurance go up $200-300 a year every year after that, it's not worth it. So make sure that you're not making these frivolous claims out there just because something happened. Know what you're doing before that. You can even call me and I can help make sure that you got it, because I've been in this business long enough that I've seen all of these things happen. So I want to make sure that it's all working out that way. So now tell us a little bit about, there's two different types of coverages on roofs. And roofs is the biggest thing here in Dallas because of our hailstorms. They're called actual cash value and replacement costs. Can you explain the differences in those?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would go as far to say it doesn't just stop at the roofs. It actually goes for the whole property itself and your personal property that is insured underneath your homeowner's insurance. So two different options. The first one is going to be your replacement cost. That is what my company writes you with, because they know we have your best interest at heart. That's what's going to get you covered. The actual cash value, basically what it is that it accounts for any depreciation on your item. I always say if something happens to your 5-year-old TV, and insurance knows that it's a 5-year-old TV, what are you going to get, $20 to sell it on Facebook Marketplace? Like, basically that is what you're getting with actual cash value. It's a way for you to check the mark that you have insurance, but it's not a way to have insurance serve its purpose. So with that, I also run across that quite often. If you come to me, you want to make sure that your property is covered as far as, your personal property. If God forbid, if there's a total loss in your house, we don't want you getting that $20 for Facebook Marketplace. We want you to make sure that you're replacing the items that you actually lost. That is what replacement cost does. It ensures that you are getting the cost to replace the original item. That goes for contents. That also goes for the roof and the structure itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a good tip. Take a video of all your prized possessions and store that someplace in the cloud, someplace that can't burn away, so that you actually have a video of all your prized possessions that you can show them and document and talk about them while you're doing this. That way, you're not having to try to think about what happened after you've had a total loss of a house or burned or whatever. So that's a great pro tip for you to be able to use. And as you add more stuff to it, just keep putting them back up in that same cloud so that you know what you got. Because I tell you what, I couldn't tell you what's in my house right now because it is crazy.
Yeah.
So what have we not talked about yet that you would like us to talk about?
I'm trying to think. I think one of the biggest conversations that I've had to have recently is the change in deductibles. So this more so goes for, let's say, people that are interested in refinancing their homes, or if they do, want to reshop their insurance after some time with an existing carrier. People, wasn't too long ago, about a year ago, honestly, when I started, 1% deductibles for wind and hail. That was pretty much the norm. That's what everyone expected. However, that is not the norm anymore. It's not always the easiest conversation to have with people whenever they come to me and are expecting that 1% deductible. The reality is that it's pretty much extinct around these parts. The truth is that, again, insurance is in charge of rating how much risk actually is, right? And living in Texas, we have hail. And so with that, the new 1% is, 2% or even 3% at this point. That's typically the minimum that I can go. However, I also have people come to me and they are wanting to hold on to that 1%. And I actually, not too long ago, I was saving a lady over, it was $2,500 when I reshopped her. She originally had a 1%, mine was a 2%. She's like, I'm going to hold on to that one. Yes, I totally understand. However, at the end of the day, if you put away that $2,500 in savings for 2 years, you're weighing the difference. and your roof was replaced last year, and so I think, again, it's a harder conversation to have, especially if that's what you're used to. The reality is like you're probably not making a claim on your roof year after year. The money that you could be saving with reshopping and, even taking on that 2%, you're going to come out ahead with it. Again, not always the thing people want to hear. It is what it is. But unfortunately, the industry has changed a lot, especially when it comes to wind and hail in Texas. And I would say there's many of my options. I don't think I have like a 1%. I might have 1 or 2 1% still floating, but they're going to be extinct. And it's more than likely that client, even if they stay, it'll go up to a 2% automatically at renewal anyhow.
Awesome. But is there anything else that we need to, because I mean, there's been some great bombshells. I hope everybody likes this. So Gracyn, I really appreciate you coming out today. How can people get a hold of you? So if they would like to get a quote from you, what would you like? I will put your information at the bottom, but
For sure.
what's the best way to reach you?
So the best way to reach me is just pick up the phone and call. I'll probably answer. More than likely, but yeah, I love getting to know people in the process. It helps me to learn my clients. And so give me a call, 214-838-5427. You can email me at Gracyn.Smith@goosehead.com. And you can feel free to follow me on social medias as well. I'll have you put out my Instagram and Facebook as well. But yeah, I would love the chance to at least take a look. It does no harm. It's no out-of-pocket expense. Maybe just 10 minutes of your phone, time. But we could, again, potentially save you thousands of dollars.
Absolutely. I check mine every year, and not every year it's going to get better. So I'm like, okay, great. I know.
Mm-hmm.
You never can tell when it makes sense to do it or not, but you got a renewal. You might as well check on that for that. So I really appreciate you coming out here.
Yeah.
And this has been your Mortgage Power Play Minute with Jerry Holcomb at Pre-Layered Lending. We're going to get all the information down here below. If you like this, tag somebody else that you think could know this about their insurance. Follow us, and we'll give you more tips next week. This is Jerry Holcomb, your Mortgage Power Play guy here in Dallas, Texas. Bye.